Hi, my name is Pastor Hal York, and welcome to Truth in the Trenches. Today we're going to be in James chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. So also the tongue is a small part of the body, and yet it boasts of great things. See how great a forest is set aflame by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, the very world of iniquity. The tongue is set among our members as that which defiles the entire body, and sets on fire the course of our life, and is set on fire by hell. We're in the middle of this teaching in James chapter 3 on the tongue, and it's a very powerful section. It's very direct. He doesn't pull any punches. And sadly for all of us, what he says about the tongue is true, that no man can tame the tongue. It's a scary thought when you think about this quote from MacArthur. He says, it's been established that from the first good morning to the last good night, the average person engages in 30 conversations a day. Some may average more than that, some less. But statisticians have estimated that each of us will spend 13 years of our life talking, and every day our words can write a book of 50 or 60 pages. In a year, we are just average. If we're just average, we could author 264 books of over 200 pages just with our words. That's a lot of words. And so if James is talking here about words and our tongue, we need to pay attention because we talk a lot. Our tongue has a very profound impact, influence over our lives, and over those around us in our lives. It's a very powerful thing. It can control our whole life, as we saw last week. Like a rudder of a ship is very small in compared to the ship, but it controls the whole ship where it goes. Same is true with the bit in a horse's mouth. It's very small in comparison to the horse, but it directs where it goes, where the rider wants it to go. So today we're going to be talking about the devastation that the tongue can cause. It's a very small thing, but it can cause tremendous devastation. See how great a forest is set aflame by such a small fire. We used to sing a song in youth group when I was growing up. It only takes a spark to get a fire going. That's a good thing if you're trying to start a campfire by rubbing two sticks together, which I've never been able to do, by the way. But if you're in a dry field or surrounded by dry grass, it's brown due to lack of moisture. You're in a wheat field that's brown and ready to harvest, but it's dry. Or in a forest that's had no rain. A spark, which is a very little thing in comparison to the forest, can set a whole forest on fire, can it? We've seen it the last year. We saw it in Nova Scotia. We see it out west. We see it in our province, Nova Scotia, or in Ontario. Forest fires that start with a little spark, a little campfire maybe. Fire is very difficult to control. Fire in a furnace or fireplace is good. It can be used for good. The fire out of control destroys everything it touches, and it's very difficult to control a fire. I've known people, you've probably known people who meant well. They started a grass fire because they wanted to burn off the old roughage and stuff, but it doesn't take much. A little wind comes up, and all of a sudden, that little fire that was under control becomes a raging inferno and it's out of control. Because fire never says, that's enough. I'm tired. I'm not going to burn anymore. It'll never stop burning till it runs out of fuel, something to burn. Fire is ravenous. It's never satisfied. Proverbs 16:27 says, a worthless man plots evil, and his speech is like a scorching fire. Proverbs 26:20 and 21 says, for lack of wood the fire goes out, and where there's no whisper, quarreling ceases. As charcoal to hot embers and wood to a fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. Such is the impact of a tongue out of control. The damage it can inflict is devastating, and it's hard to stop. That rages on unhindered, devouring everything and everyone in its path. Because fire does not make moral judgments. It burns good trees, rotten trees, nice homes or shacks, stubble or crops. It's very, very impartial, if you will, non-partial. It doesn't matter who's in its path. It's going to burn it or what's in its path. We tend to tolerate a little fire in our speech, thinking it will do little harm. But as we've said and as we've seen, fire spreads, and it spreads quickly. often before we realize it. And after a fire has done its damage, it doesn't really matter if it was intentional or not. The damage is real. Have you ever said something that set your whole life on fire? Have you ever said something that set your marriage into a tailspin? Or a child to their room, devastated? No doubt we all have. That's the nature of the beast, the tongue. Fire is one of those things that does irreparable damage. The tongue is a fire, the very world of iniquity. We're introduced to Satan in Genesis chapter 3. And you know how we're introduced to him? By what he said. He said, "Yea, hath God said." And we learn two things from that introduction. Satan can talk. And number two, Satan is a liar. And the whole world, if you would, was set on fire by the lie of Satan. Eve's life, Adam's life, their marriage, the whole world was put under a curse because Adam and Eve listened to the lie, the words, the tongue. The tongue is a fire. Fiery words often destroy relationships that even when restored can often never again as strong as they were before. Families and churches and friendships and security, happiness, peace are all vulnerable to the destructive nature of the tongue. But on the other hand, Proverbs says one word fitly spoken has been a source of encouragement and comfort. We've all experienced both. But the devastation is caused by a tongue out of control. A word fitly spoken that brings encouragement and comfort is a tongue that's been brought under control. Small words have led to divorce, suicide, depression. And James is reminding us here that a few words are not insignificant. One unkind word can cause great harm, and one kind word can do great good. When we buy things today, one of the questions we often ask is, can I return it? How long do I have to return it? When we choose to speak words, regardless if they are comforting or hurtful, once these words are said, remember this: you can't take them back. They're gone. They're out there. They've touched the ears of that other person, and they're there. They're taking root. You can't get them back. You can try, but it's like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. Once you've squeezed it out, you're not going to put it back in. And we try to sometimes take it back by blaming the other person. They're too sensitive. It's like shooting an arrow and blaming the person for standing in the wrong place because we forgot to aim. So we just shoot it at random and hit somebody and say you shouldn't have been standing there. Well, that's insane. They have every right to stand there. You should have aimed first before you shot the arrow. You should have aimed first before you spoke those words. You should have thought about them before you said them. That's why they hurt. That's why they hurt. If you can say you shouldn't have been standing there, you're missing the problem. It's your heart. They're not the problem. It's your heart. The only hope you have is to ask their forgiveness. If you've hurt them with your words, it may take a while to get back to where you were, if you can ever get back, because words can hurt deeply. The scars can run deeply when that fire burns. You ever walk through a forest that's been ravaged by a forest fire that was started by one little spark? It takes a long time for that damage that's been done to disappear. You may see a little green fleck here, a little green blade of grass over there. But the devastation is hard to replace, and it takes a long time for it to go away. Don't underestimate the power of your words in your relationships. The consequences can be devastating and long-lasting in marriage, in parenting especially. As I said, many of a child has been wounded deeply by the thoughtless, careless words of an angry parent or just a thoughtless parent. The tongue is tiny but mighty. It directs an entire ship, the rudder. The bit directs the entire horse. The tongue is small, but it can cause great devastation. One word, one spark can set your whole life on fire. So make sure you think before you speak. Make sure you think before you buy. Why? Because when it comes to our words, we can't take them back. We can't take them back. They're out there. We need to own them. We need to humble ourselves and ask for forgiveness. But also, we need to think before we speak. Is this the right time? Is this the right person? Is this the right place to say this, or should I not say it at all? Pray about it. Pray about your words. Think about them. Fill your heart with the Word of God. Because remember, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. If you're having trouble controlling your tongue, the problem is in your heart. Ask God to show you what's going on in there. Am I angry? Am I jealous? Am I frustrated? What is it? But think before you speak, because you can't take your words back. So may this truth guide us and guard us in the trenches of life as we seek to live our lives for the glory of God and the good of others. May God bless.